Hello and welcome to the Cuyamonga Institute, our Q&A conversation for exploration series. I'm Paul Robert, the Executive Director and President of the Institute, and along with my wife, Laura Lee, the Director of Research, Education, and Outreach. And on behalf of our Board of Directors, our advisors, and supporting members, we want to thank you for joining us today. The Cuyamonga Institute is an independent, nonprofit research organization committed to researching consciousness and the human experience following the footsteps of our founder, anthropologist Dr. Felicitas Goodman. And as an educational institution, we take an open approach. And so we invite scholars in related fields to help broaden the scope of our own work and exploration. And that's why we call this Conversation for Exploration. And on these weekly Sunday discussions, we've had a full spectrum of topics from neuroscience, anthropology, archaeology, astronomy, psychology, mythology, shamanism, the hero's journey, the roots of theater, all the prehistory stuff, looking from a full spectrum from the arts to the sciences and everything in between.
We go exploring.
And you're welcome to join us. And the majority of these discussions have been recorded and placed on our website. So you're welcome to visit us at cuyamongainstitute.com. All these presentations are free. And as a nonprofit, we invite you to become a supporting member. And of course, we want to thank you, the community members who continue to support the mission of the Cuyamonga Institute. Today, we're going to travel together around the world via the art of photography. Nowadays, almost everybody carries a camera, an extension of our smartphones, but just because someone can purchase an airplane, that doesn't make you a pilot.
This is no comparison to the real thing.
Well, that's another discussion. The technology keeps improving and improving, and then we have to know how to use that technology properly. There's so much for us to learn. There's an art to capturing the perfect shot. And I see photography as a way to explore and open us to a broader part of ourselves, our own human visual perception. It triggers something in us emotionally, and it moves us. It compels us to do things possibly that we wouldn't have done otherwise. Photography teaches us the art of seeing, revealing the things that hide in plain sight we just might have missed. We're ready to see the world through the eyes and the lens of Scott Stulberg, world photographer. Scott's images have been widely featured in publications including National Geographic, Time Magazine, to name a few, and has images on permanent display at the United Nations.
Well, I see beauty as its own medicine. I see Mother Nature as my favorite artist. I see portraits as a way to honor their subject. And all that comes to bear with the photography here. And the story behind the shot is fascinating. How do photographers get the shot? It's more than just a fancy camera. It's how they see, as you mentioned, how they see differently. To see differently is to think differently. And that's what we're all about, right? And the vision to paint and light and shadow, it's more than just a camera. It's really, what do you do? How do you stage it? How do you prepare for it? How do you scout out the shot? What is the light that you're looking for? I think it's fascinating to do, as we do so much in this forum, talk with experts about how they do what they do, and it illuminates the subject for us in ways that we cannot guess at. So Scott, welcome.
Well, hello. Hello.
Thanks for being here with us today.
Yeah.
Thanks. I have a question right off the bat. How come you didn't call it the Goodman Institute instead of this name I don't even know how to say?
That's her choice.
That was something that actually the board of directors really struggled over.
But they struggled over that one. They did.
Yeah, because they're still trying to look.
Bunga. I mean, I don't know how to say it.
Cuyamonga. Yeah, well, but the one thing about the name is that once you learn it, you don't forget it. And we're the only one on the internet. We're the only one in the world with this name. So
part of it was her married name, and by then she was divorced, and it didn't relate. Didn't resonate with. I don't know.
It's her choice. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Dr.
You guys are the Cowabunga. How's that? Okay, that's easy.
No, don't do that either.
Sure.
Welcome everybody. So you want me to start?
Yeah.
First I have to ask you,
sure.
Why photography? How did you end up with camera in your hand and that become your life's work? What got you there?
Well, I It probably was because my dad was in the movie business, and he gave me a camera when I was about 9 or 10 as a present. It was like the coolest present in the world. I just, boom, I was every day shooting, doing things. I still remember pictures that I took of my brother and stuff out in the backyard. I don't know, I was just fascinated by it. And that became my life. And then when I was 13, my dad was working at CBS, and he had the special effects department come to our house and tear apart a closet downstairs and build me like the most custom darkroom in the world. Safe lights, sink. It was like bigger than anyone else's darkroom. And I tell everybody, I think that's what really made me fall in love with photography. It was my darkroom. I've never heard anybody say that, but for me, that's how it worked, because then I could immerse myself. And I was every night till like 3 a.m. just working on pictures. I remember my parents waking up in the morning, go, Dad, what do you think? What do you think? And it was so cool, still wet and hanging with fixer on it or whatever. But yeah, it's pretty cool to know what you want when you're that
So
age.
early on.
And growing up in that environment where film is the format that people, the movie making, that's all happening around you. And yet this is the path that you knew from a young age that you were going to follow.
Yeah, I mean, I could have gone in the movie business. I mean, my dad was president of 20th Century Fox. He was vice president of Columbia. I mean, he was making movies like Born Free and Bridge on the River, Quiet Columbia. And then he made Star Wars at 20th and Young Frankenstein, just a ton of movies. I grew up, we had a screening room. So we had people over every Friday night for like 20 years. So I was always on the sets, and I was always just with everybody. I think maybe I told you guys before, I was with Buzz Aldrin, Muhammad Ali. It was a cool childhood because of who my dad was, but I just stuck to what I loved. I mean, I was always on sets and they were filming and, everyone's coming over, Steve McQueen, Warren Beatty, whatever it was, but I still loved still photography. I didn't want to get in the movie business. And my father said, I remember I was in the bathroom, master bathroom with him. I was really, I don't know, maybe 12. And he said I could be in commercials or whatever. And I was like, no, I don't like the movie business. I just want to take pictures. And so I was so happy to this day. In fact, it's part of the reason I moved out of LA. I moved to Sedona so I could get the hell out of LA, where the movie business is everywhere. And you see actors and people are like, oh my God, look, it's Whoopi Goldberg. Like, Jesus. So it's so nice to be over here where there isn't one actor in the world, nothing to do with the business. So
It's nice to forge your own path, though, right? We always need to forge our own identity and find out what's really here that we need to express, not just the influences around us. But so you started out with film in a dark room. So did my sister, a photographer, and she loves her dark room and was sad to give it all up. I think she donated it all to a high school or something, photo class. But how did the digital change your life?
That was probably the biggest day of my life as a photographer, changing from film to digital. It was March 2001, and I had known about digital for a long time. I'd seen the prototype of the first Canon, and as I was friends with the Canon reps, and I was downtown. I remember it was a big photo show, and I got to hold the Canon D30. In fact, I have my old one downstairs. I have my little camera museum. It's fun to see everything. I remember Polaroid gave my dad the first SX70 when it came out. And I was in high school and I brought to school the first Polaroid SX70, the one you open up and it's brown leather on both sides. And my teacher's like, oh my God, I heard about this. You have it. And it was so cool. So I had this photo museum of all my old things that I had. But that D30, they called me up. They said, Scotty, I was the first person in LA to get the first Canon digital camera. And that was life-changing. But at the time we didn't know, it shoots something called JPEG. And we didn't know what RAW was, nothing. This is 10 years at least before RAW or whatever it was. And the thing was, it was a 2.9 megapixel file. And in April, 1 month later, I was going away for like 5 weeks to Cambodia and Thailand, and I forget where else. I was going on Burma. Yeah, I was going to Burma for my first time. And I had a big decision to make. Do I bring my new Canon digital camera with all the battery stuff I got to bring and all this stuff in this low megapixel file, or do I bring my 1DX, which shot film and I could scan it and get high res files, get at least a 60 megabyte scan, and it was clear, although so much more work. And the best decision I ever made, literally one of the best decisions I ever made in my life, was I decided put the digital camera down here and take your film camera, because that's going to give you high res scans. And those images have made me so much money, and some are hanging up like you know, in the United Nations, and it was really good. But slowly, Canon and Nikon, you know, finally Sony came into the picture, started building higher resolution cameras, and things changed. But that was a pretty cool.
Yeah, let's put it into
Well, I
context.
made a slideshow for a party I'm going to tomorrow night. It's a Sedona Camera Club. They asked me if I'd make a little slideshow, so I made one on After Dark. So this doesn't have anything to do with my slideshow coming up. That's more travel, but it's kind of cool. Show one of my main loves of life is shooting after dark, and I teach a lot of classes, kind of called Afterglow, shooting after dark. I kind of when the sun goes down and the lights come on all over the place. So it's just basically kind of my love for shooting after dark all over the world. So
And then you have another slideshow for us after that.
after that, then I have like a presentation. I'll go through talking about pictures. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So,
And the shot behind the shot. Yeah.
so
The
I'm gonna
story
share
behind the shot. Okay.
yeah. So everybody have their speakers on?
Yes, we do.
Everybody's good? Okay, because there's music. All right, here we go. A little bit after dark.
It's beautiful. Beautiful, Scotty. Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Anyway, that was my love for After Dark, which is everybody has their little whatever, something they really love, extra special. That's what I love, extra special. And that's part of the reason I moved to Sedona, because it's one of the dark cities in the United States. It's really cool here. So
One of the first, actually,
yeah,
dark
one of the
sky
first.
locations.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
teach workshops here, and it's kind of fun. But anyway, I wanted to get into a little presentation, and I told Laura and Paul, instead of just showing you pretty pictures, I thought I'd talk a little bit about what it's like to be a wandering photographer, a travel photographer. That's what I really am. I'm a travel photographer. I sell my work through agencies represent me, and there are hospitals, hotels, 5-star resorts, just so many businesses and homes. And so that's what I really like to do. I like people to represent me and sell my work. And so I have to shoot things, you know, not just something that's fine art. I have friends that are fine art photographers, and you have to be in a gallery, and you got to have a rep, and blah, 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 blah. I know I want, you know, the masses to have my images to be able to put up on a wall and feel good. And so I have to look for what I consider something that's just going to be beautiful, that people are going to want to put up, you know, and hang up somewhere. The UCLA hospital has a ton of my images, and I remember they came in, they had me come in while they were building the, when it became the Ronald Reagan Medical Center in LA, it was called the UCLA Medical Center. And they showed me all the rooms. They went to all private rooms and the maternity rooms, and my shots are in like 60 rooms just in the hospital, in the one over there. And then it's fun. Friends call me, they go, "Oh my God, it's just in the hospital and your image is on the wall." So it's fun. It's fun, or being in a restaurant and my images are in there. So that's what I really like. I'm also in galleries, but I just love, this is what I love. I love being able to have, you know, like this image right here. This is the image on the cover of my book Passage to Burma. And you look at a shot like this, and people have no idea how difficult that was to set up. They might think, "Oh my God, you were in the right place at the right time." But anyway, I'm gonna talk about photography. Okay.
Go
Sounds
for
good.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everybody can see the screen.
Yes.
So here's my motto by a lesser known poet. I'm not sure if any of you heard of him, but this is my motto right here. It's sort of like it's Proust and it's Steve Jobs. Those are my guys. It's really in having new eyes. And Steve Jobs, Laura kind of touched on that when she said see different. Steve Jobs was think different. And so that's what I'm always thinking about. As I teach a lot of workshops all over the world on photography, I tell them all, we got to think different. You can't just put your camera in the same place, same settings, same everything. So believe it or not, that was not my first camera. It looks like it. That was my first 35 millimeter camera. That was huge. It's a Konica C35. I was over the moon because I could put in Kodak roll film instead of these stupid little drop-in cartridges. My first camera was an Anscomatic, not an Instamatic. It was an Anscomatic. It was like a knockoff. And I had roll film. It would drop in. I don't know how many of you remember that, probably all of you, but that was my first camera. So I was probably about 9. So this was a big day for me when my dad bought this for me. It was life-changing. Going to 35 millimeter, you could actually focus. It was so cool. So these are just some shots of me. It's love of my life is Burma, teaching workshops in the Galapagos. It's kind of fun. I love when other people take pictures of me shooting, because I'm always shooting everybody else. So I actually set this up as a self-portrait, and this is Delicate Arch, Delicate Arch in Moab. And there's my favorite place on earth, Burma, which I'm not sure. In fact, my guide has stopped writing to me, and he told me, if you stop hearing from me, I could be killed just like my brother was killed. And it's devastating because my guide's been my guide for like almost 20 years, since 2000, or, you know, long time ago. And he's like my brother. And, you know, he's everywhere I am in Burma. So I haven't heard from him in so long. So there's my wife and I. She was my student. And before my mom died, 2 years before, I said, "Mom, you know what? I really want to meet a girl in one of my classes that I could fall in love with. That's what I really want." And she's like, "Well, you will." And I did. She was in my class, and we've been together ever since. So I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go through some images. My favorite place, Burma, one of my favorite places on earth. Wow, I forget when I took this. This is probably 2008. This was on the cover of my first edition of my book. If anybody has any questions, by the way, they can ask Laura when I'm
Okay.
showing this.
Just turn on your mic and ask away.
And ask away. Greece, beautiful Greece. shot I just took in Manarola in the Cinque Terre. I was thinking last night, there's so many beautiful places in Italy. It's like, I love it so much. I'm thinking of doing like I don't know, like an extensive workshop in the Cinque Terre rather than just spending 2 days there, part of my Italy
Wow.
workshop, because there's so many great places and great things to do. I kind of rushed through it, but this is like the poor man's Positano. It's just as pretty, but it's so much easier to get to and so less expensive. So beautiful. This is a new panorama I just shot in New York City during my workshop. Actually, my group is over on the right side. I said, I got to leave. I got to come over by the rock. So you guys have all your settings and everything. I'll see you. I'm over here. And the waves came up, almost devastated my camera gear. It was like out of nowhere. A boat had gone by and then splashed. I got away with one. In Iceland, though, on the shore, this girl put her camera bag right down on the black sand beach. She saw that shot of Holly and I, and she wasn't thinking about it, and I wasn't thinking, and a wave came up and destroyed her camera gear. They're called rogue waves. Yeah, I felt so bad for her. It's happened to me too, but I felt bad for her. Another panorama in New York City. You can see the Brooklyn Bridge, the Manhattan Bridge, it's called Jane's Carousel. This is all Dumbo where I am. Dumbo is probably my favorite area in all of New York. I do workshops in New York City. And this is where actually right here, can everybody see where my arrow is?
Yes.
Over here, the steps below the big pillar right here, the Manhattan Bridge. This is everybody sits and views the most beautiful, sunset and bridge shots. Or we walk over here. But I decided I have a really cool favorite spot in the middle that I've never shot a panorama from. And I tried it and I think it worked out. And I show how people that shoot things like this without getting people in their shot. There's a little secret.
Okay, what is your secret?
You yell out. you pretend you're from a bad part of the world and you scream and everybody runs. And then you have it for a few seconds until you get arrested. And that's how I got this shot. It's worth the 3 days in jail to get a shot like this without people in it, because it is one of the most visited places in the world. No, I actually have a technique where I'm on a tripod and I set up exactly what I want to do. For this one, I had my tripod really low and I was standing up and I had my cable release so I could take pictures while I was standing up. I didn't have to look through the viewfinder because everything was set. And then I shot for about a half an hour and I shot where everybody was moving around. As long as nobody stayed in the same position, I could put them all together in Photoshop and in about 15 seconds, take everybody out. And end up, it's really cool. It's a cool technique that I teach my students in Photoshop. I teach Photoshop all over the world. I teach at UCLA. I teach where I met my wife at the LA Center of Photography. So it's fun. I've been using Photoshop. It's kind of funny. Photoshop, it's literally version 2 in the 90s. And then I ran a Photoshop meetup group at Apple Computer for years. And it was really cool. I bring in experts in the field and the top plugin people. Then I ended up making my own book on the best Photoshop plugins. And it was really cool to have a Photoshop community in the 90s and then be, beta tester and watch Photoshop go from literally, God, it was just like a nothing program to what it is today. It is indispensable. It's incredible. So Photoshop's my life and it has replaced my darkroom. And that's, I said I fell in love with photography because of my darkroom. Well, I'm just not more in love with photography because of Photoshop. It's just amazing.
Yeah. Wow.
So I love shooting people. I'm going to talk in my presentation a little bit more about shooting people, but these are my buddies, all of my buddies, except for the one in the center here. As typical, the Army put him in the war and he died. And he's one of my best buddies. I saw him every time I would come back. So things like this mean even more to me. But this is kind of stuff I do. I pose them and I set them up how I want to be. I was really the first person that I knew of that would actually go in and ask the monk masters if I could shoot in the monasteries and take their monks and set them up either in the monastery or off the monastery and go somewhere, go to another temple or whatever. And that's something I'll never forget because I have monk masters all over Burma that love me. And I have so many pictures of me giving them images when I come back in my book. And and the monks love me when they come. I always make them smile because nobody interacts with them. They come, and if they're lucky enough to find a monastery, they'll take a picture, and a monk might be cleaning or doing something. Well, I needed more than that. I wanted to be a great monk and monastery photographer. And I was there at the right place at the right time. Stuff like this. This took me a half a day to set up, and getting permission, and getting the tea lights, and getting everything just perfect, coming back at night and setting them up in rows. And they kept looking at me, and I'd have to come over and move their head down. You're not really allowed to touch them on their head. And I'd have to work with them and have my guide. But there are certain things that I see in my mind that I want to capture. You would never capture this. I'm right in front of them. I'm actually up in the air on a landing, so I could be shooting down. And they kept opening their eyes and turning, and I have to get the right depth of field, going from sharp to blurry. You have to, there's so much that goes in a shot. A shot like this was just so much in the making. But and then it comes into a shot like this. This was a friend of mine in Jodhpur in India, and her family sold saris, and I loved her, and I saw her. I was getting ready to. I was there to set up an upcoming workshop. So I was scouting and planning a workshop, and I saw her, and I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to bring a woman inside the Blue City and have her going up and down stairs in a beautiful sari. So I picked out 3 saris, and I bought this one from her. And we walked around, and I found these great stairs, and it had this green door that was closed. And so I set up there with my wife, and I actually had a friend with me, one of my students. I let him come scouting with me. I do that once in a while. If I'm scouting, I let a student or a friend come with me once in a while. And she was going up and down, and it was great. And I'm shooting vertically, and all of a sudden the door opens, and out comes this grandmother, like, what's going on? And it was like, James, Holly, keep shooting, keep shooting. It was like perfect. National Geographic loves this shot. The editors freaked out because you can't plan this. I'm not going to tell this woman, first of all, they didn't know who lived there. I'm not going to say, hey, can you open and look down? It was perfect. I call it coming to dinner. Like she's expecting her daughter to come to dinner. But it's these magic moments, and I tell my students, kind of the right place, the right time, when serendipitous things happen. So things like that mean a lot to me.
Mm.
And we at Holly had found this sadhu in India, in Varanasi, somewhere online. And we made it our mission to find this guy when we got and the first day when I was scouting out before an upcoming workshop in Varanasi, we made it our mission to find this guy. And my guide, this guide that I had, that my main guide found for me, we showed him a picture. He goes, oh, I know where he is. We was like a needle in a haystack. We couldn't believe it. They had the monkey. So I took him over and I lit him differently. And I had some off-camera flash, and I had my Holly and my friend Brett from Australia hold the flash and everything, and it was just kind of fun. This another serendipitous thing to be able to find him and then actually move him away from the wall where he was sleeping to a tree. At least it had something that looked like a background. This was this crazy ass tree, and then shoot him. And I mean, look at his bracelets and his feet. This guy was crazy. He wouldn't take money. I mean, I had to shove it down his throat. It was incredible.
Mm. Wow.
So these are the kind of things I do. I find that the subjects, I find the location. This is Varanasi at sunrise. And I try and just set up cool things for myself, for my students. This is on sale at the former National Geographic Gallery. This is blown up pretty big. This is one of my favorite horse shots. I teach. I forgot to put horse images in this, and Laura goes, no, you got to put horse images. So I shoot the white horses of the Camargue in the south of France. And
how do you set that shot up? Is it a wild herd, or does somebody keep this herd, and do you arrange for the horse? How do you get them to trample across the stream? And what goes into this?
They're not real horses. They're robots. And I have I have guides that, thank God you can't see any of them in the picture, that I tell them what I want to do, what kind of shoot I want to do, all kinds of different shoots. And I put my students either on one side or I leave a gap in the middle and we're on both sides. I always get the closest because, there have been times where I literally could have been killed because they come that close. And these horses won't go around you. They will hit you. And so I have to be really careful, but I tell my guides what I want them to do and position myself. And I mean, my camera was soaked after this. I should be wearing, I use waterproof covers in India for the Holi festival. And sometimes when I'm in the ocean, but this one, I've done this so many times, 15 years. I just never think about doing that. So I was soaked, but my cameras are pretty water resistant. And I'm standing right next to them and I teach people how to set their cameras. This is pushing your camera as much as you can push a camera. I would say that, because you're on auto ISO, you are doing servo, which means it's focusing while you're holding down the focus button. So you're not taking your hand off focus. It's constantly focusing. Your other hand's on the zoom and you're moving back and forth, because as they're further away, you're coming closer in as they get closer together to shoot wide. And the whole time you're in auto ISO, so it's bracketing kind of for you, and it's like not for the timid. So this, to me, it's like pushing your camera as much as you can push your camera. And you're also shooting at about ISO 1250 on auto ISO and a 1250th of a second. So get clear shots with a lot of depth of field. So you're shooting at ISO 1250 during the day, which you might think is crazy, but it's better to end up with a little bit more noise, which you can get rid of later, because you have to get the depth of field like F9, F10, and you have to get the shutter speed at about a 1250th. Anyway, that's how I do stuff like that.
So
Here's another one.
you have told your students what they're going to do, and then you line them all up so they can get their own fabulous shot here.
Yeah, for this one, I probably have
And,
students on my right and my left. I can't believe I'm right here, because it looks like they're going to absolutely kill me. There's a lot of people that go there and shoot this. They don't really, in my opinion, shoot the way I do. They are more timid. Even the instructors are more off to the side. I haven't seen a ton of them where they're coming straight at them like this, because I'm real ballsy. I just keep my fingers crossed that they're going to come around me. And this horse on the left, this is Tranquil. He's an albino. He's my favorite horse in the world. I love him. And so he's in many of my shots, because he is the monster, the top stallion that just kicks ass. It would have been cool if he was in the front, but I don't mind seeing him on the side, because look, you can see he's the first one. Anyway, that's Tranquil. You can see we have great clouds too. It is just.
so where did the horses go? You're standing there taking a shot. They're like bearing down on you.
They go past me, and then the cool thing is, like in this shot, you can't see any of the riders. There could be easily a rider over here or a rider over here. They've got a whip. They snap in the air. But I tell them, please, after you start them, go off to the sides, so I don't have to Photoshop them out. And they do a really good job. Doing this for so many years, I can't remember the first year I did it. I become really good friends, and I come back and I give pictures to all of the riders. I mean, all of the horse ranchers, and they really appreciate that.
But the color of the waves, the color of the horses, the color of the water and the clouds, I mean,
it's pretty cool. And then I too, like over here, I decided to go over to the shoreline and shoot them at sunset. This is sunrise. Shoot them at, actually, no, this is sunset, because I see where the sun is. Shoot them at sunset on the side, and then I can do silhouettes. And then the flamingos are flying, because there's the world's most amazing flamenco park right like about a half a mile away, and we spend an evening there shooting flamingos coming out of your yin yang. But this is what it's like when we're shooting going to the side. It's really cool shooting silhouettes too. So it's very difficult also, but it's kind of fun doing stuff like this. And then I set up things like this, where I put two stallions together, and they sniff each other and they start kicking. And then when they get up and they start fighting like this, it's pretty cool. And so I have a zillion shots like this, different locations, in the water, out of the water. And it's kind of special. You don't see a lot of this when you have two stallions. People wonder, like, how do you do that? Well, you put two stallions together. It's like, when I get near you, Paul, and we're sniffing each other and pushing each other.
Very similar.
Very, very, very similar. Anyway, kind of fun stuff. And then,
and look at this. Wow.
I love faces. I teach a course online called Eye to Eye, Capturing the Face. I've taught it at UCLA. I just love capturing faces around the world. So I wanted to face paint a girl. I probably have another one in the show. And then I find faces. I find people that can face paint. I'm going to be doing this in March when I go back to India. I'll be doing this again in Varanasi during the Holi festival. It's going to be really special. So I come up with these ideas, and then I say, hey, can we try this? And they know how to paint better than I do. And I go, hey, we're on a roll. Let's do it again. Or I wipe it off. Let's try something else. And then I got these cool little fabrics to add more color, and I put it over her. But this little girl is so, oh my God, what's the word? Feisty. Oh my God. She was like, okay, stop. And it was like, oh, I love her. So I would give her shit and she'd give me shit back. And I go, get down right now. I'm painting you now. And we would joke with each other, but I can't wait to find her again and show her this because she hasn't seen it. It's one of my loves that I love doing is finding people I've shot, coming back and showing them the pictures. I've got several printers in the office here. You can probably see one in the background. Yeah, that's my Epson P800 back there. Anyway, we'll do stuff like this. These are slow motion blurs. This is, I'm going to talk about this later, the kind of light that you have to, the kind of techniques you have to do. This is actually a really rare shot. This was from my, I think, last workshop. We get into the Taj Mahal, we're the first ones in. And I wanted to do a panorama of the Taj Mahal at sunrise with no people. And with my photography, I really push myself. I push myself hard. I mean, people see me, I'm not screwing around. And when I'm teaching, and I wanted a panorama at sunrise with no people. You know, I'm not into sitting there trying to clone out people. I'm not a big fan of the clone tool. So like you saw how I took people out of the Coliseum, I couldn't do that here because you'd have to be on a tripod. There's no tripods allowed in the Taj. So I told my students, okay, I'm running in, everybody run in, we're first. But still run in because it's going to take time for the people to walk from the outside, which is, you know, it's like a pretty far walk from way over here all the way in or whatever. But I ran to my favorite spot right here over the pool. And I stood there vertically. I got my camera all set up. I'm on manual. And I set it up for HDR, meaning 3 shots per angle. And I went like this. Boom, 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 boom. It's called a handheld HDR panorama. So I have over, under, and normal just to capture any shadow detail or any blown out highlights. I could have easily done 1, 1, 1, 1, but I wanted even more detail. And I've done this all over the world when I can't use a tripod. So boom, 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 all the way. And I make the sound effects too, otherwise it doesn't work. So you got to do the boom, boom. And all the way across, I did it several times. I knew I had the shot. Then by then my students were there. I'm helping them shoot. I told some of them get on their stomach, try panorama. So this shot means a lot to me because, you know, go online and look for panoramas of the Taj Mahal without people. I haven't done that, but I just know there aren't a lot because it's really difficult. You have to run in and you have to know where to be, and you have to have a decent day also. So anyway, things like that mean a lot to me. Just did this on my last workshop to Paris, which was just probably in September, I think. And another one, I mean, I told Lori, I teach a class called Behind the Shot, and it's just an online photography workshop where I tell people stories of how I got the shots, and I tell them the planning that I did before I left, what it took when I was there, setting up the settings, models, whatever it takes, and then coming home and all the post-processing. I thought it was such a cool idea for a photography webinar. And so this one, I knew what I wanted. I had one student with me, the rest, it was like 11 o'clock at night. They had all left. It was really cold. And I stayed with one of my students, and I'm setting up this shot that I shot before, but I wanted to do it even better. And we're here, and there were just people all over, people sitting here, people sitting there. And at 11 o'clock, they come out with the police and guard dogs, and they come right up to you and scare the hell out of you. Get out now. And it was like 5 of 11, and we could hear, and we could hear, go, go. And the police were yelling, and there was an Asian couple, these 2 girls sitting here for 20 minutes right here. Girl would be sitting here taking her picture, ruining my shot. And I was so patient, and the dogs are barking. I finally went up and I said, excuse me, you've been here forever. I just need to take a shot. Could you please let us shoot? So they moved behind me. They let me take a couple shots, and they came right back. But the problem was I needed my student to get the shot. And they sat there again. They go, please, I need my student. I had to go over there. And they finally, the guard started coming towards us, and they got scared. They left. And I set up her camera really quickly. And I said, take the shot, take the shot. And the guard's 30 feet away, coming with the dog barking. I said, take the shot. And she pushed down a shutter. and had a cable release in her hand. And he starts getting really close, and she's going, I'm moving my camera. I go, not moving the camera. And I knew we had like 15 seconds left. And no, I go, don't touch the camera, because she would have ruined the shot. And he finally comes up to us. He goes, no, go. And I go, don't touch the camera. Don't touch the camera. I didn't know if he spoke English or whatever. And I started fumbling with the camera. Okay. I'm trying to turn it off. The whole time I know I have 5 seconds left. I'm not moving this camera. I don't care if the guy hits me. And finally, and I'm pretending, blah, 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 blah. And finally I hear click, oh, grab the camera. And I walked up, okay. And I knew we had the shot, because those are our favorite, 4 favorite words. I got the shot. She got the shot. She got the same thing. I helped her with it later in Photoshop. And it's stories like that. Like if we had been intimidated by some cop every time I'm at the Louvre, that police try to intimidate me, but I have to get the shot. The bummer also is that there's water typically in all 4 of the pools. Well, there was no water in 3 of the pools. So I had to add the water right here. So it looks very much like what it normally would look like, but I had to add the water because if I'm ever going to sell this, it's going to be for sale in a gallery or, whatever. It has to have the reflection, because otherwise it just was the empty thing with, you could see the pumps in there and everything like that. Anyway, there's always stories. And then you could see stars in the sky. See, it was blue hour with stars.
Wow.
And this is Lago de Bray in the Dolomites. I was there in April, May, scouting out for a new workshop. We got really lucky because they just put out the boats the night before. This was sunrise. It was really, we were there the night before and there were no boats out and we were devastated. So my wife decided to sleep in, and she wanted this shot more than anything in the world. And she goes, it's too cold, I'm going to sleep in. And she missed this and she was devastated because we showed up, they put the boats in that night. And Robin, my student, my friend who went with me, the 3 of us, she got the shot. We were screaming. It was just me and her and one other guy that was there. So it was magical. Nobody in this famous, it's one of the most famous shots in all of the Dolomites, and nobody was there except the 3 of us. Obviously, it's kind of self-explanatory. Lions don't climb trees. I got really lucky with that. So I shoot a lot of tribes when I'm in Africa. I set that up. Shoot a lot of Milky Way. I love, this is in my Acadia National Park workshop. And it's really fun shooting the Milky Way over the ocean. A lot of work. This is, let's see, probably about 16 shots made into one shot. 16 shots for the sky called stacking. And this was one long exposure for the foreground, probably about 8 minutes. And then you have to do a lot of technical stuff in Photoshop and other programs. And then that's what I teach during my workshops. We're out shooting all over Acadia, for instance, sunrise, in the workroom, learning Photoshop during the day. And then we go out at sunset and then we stay for after dark. It's like a giant party. This is Secret Beach in the Oregon coast. I think it's my top 5 destinations for the Milky Way around the world. It's a hike getting down there, but it's a view that day and night, we've never seen anything like it. Those are all sea stacks.
Stacking, could you explain stacking? So you're taking multiple shots and then taking some of the data from each shot and combining it? How are you doing that?
When you're stacking, typically it's for an image that probably has a lot of noise. And when I'm doing the Milky Way, there's several ways to shoot it. And I teach it in my workshops. You can just shoot one shot and then deal with the noise later. You can shoot with a tracker, sky tracker, which I shoot with, and just get 2, 3, 4, 5 minute shots, crystal clear images. But then it blurs the ground because it's moving the rotation of the earth. Or you could shoot image for the ground, and then you can shoot stacked images for the sky. I typically shoot 10 or 15 images of the sky, maybe around ISO 10,000 to 12,500. And I shoot about 10 of those, and ISO 10 or 12,000. And I put all of these in a program called Starry Landscape Stacker, and it takes all 10 images or 15 images or whatever. And the cool thing about it is when you're typically shooting 20, 30 seconds, no matter what lens you have on, you're going to get some star movement. But at 10-second exposure, so you have like 10 seconds, ISO 10,000, I shoot about 10 images, say for instance, that 10-second exposure, literally with anything up to probably maybe even a 24 millimeter lens, I have formulas. I use a program called PhotoPills to figure it all out. You can see that there won't be any movement in the stars. So you end up with a stacks that puts them all together, because it's taking the luminosity of these bright stars and just putting them on top of each other, stacking them. And then it's taking all the noise, and literally, since they're all different images, it's getting rid of all the noise through the stacking of the software. So you literally end up with an image that has very little noise and perfectly stark stars. So it's really the way to shoot if you don't want to use a star tracker, which most people don't use. So it's called star stacking, and that's a lot of fun. And then you can see this is with a star stacker right here. So I can get really intense skies. This is in Sedona. I did a lot of things here. I did light painting. I did an overexposed image for the foreground. I did star stacking of the sky right here, and then intense 33 steps in Photoshop on getting the Milky Way to really jump out at you. And when you're using a star stacker, you get more stars than you want. So I actually take out a ton of stars in the sky, but especially the Milky Way, because it actually makes the Milky Way too busy to look at. So you can see there's a zillion stars here, but that's what the Milky Way would look like. I want the Milky Way to stand out more. So when you're doing astrophotography, it's pretty well known that you really want to have less stars with your star tracker, but you're going to see many more, planets and constellations and things, and you're going to have a much more intense image overall. I mean, look at that Milky Way. It's really powerful. So a lot of shit went into that image. I love shooting car trails. This is in Moab. That's my car. I had a friend drive that. And then this is the opposite end of the spectrum. Lots of car trails. This is a friend's place in Dubai, shooting from the 35th floor. The exact shot that I wanted, but I'd never thought of doing a panorama. This is a panorama. This is Sheikh Zayed Road, and it's straight. It goes right past the apartment. And when you're shooting a panorama on a straight road, this is what happens. And I actually think it makes it look cooler. So I've never seen anyone ever do a panorama of Dubai like this. And I just like, wow, this is cool. I love trying things that are different, just like Steve Jobs said. Burma, one of my Ubain Bridge in Mandalay, one of my favorite places on earth. So Burma, sunrise. This shot will never be captured again, because so many of these temples that I've been shooting since 2001, they had an earthquake that there are places you can't go anymore. I mean, the last time I was there, they were locked with, they had infrastructure up, scaffolding holding them up, because the earthquake in Bagan started knocking down parts of the temple. They were unsafe, so the government said, you can't go up anymore. So I've been shooting there with Art Wolf, a friend of mine, a great photographer. We've been in the same places. No one will be getting most of these shots ever again, because not only you can't go up anymore. We would go to the top here and shoot out. There's 2,000 pagodas in every direction here. We could shoot. I know all the best spots. You can't go anymore. And now that the military's taken over, I had to cancel my last workshop, which was over a year ago. It was called Off the Beaten Path. We can't even get into Burma. In fact, I haven't been able to get a hold of my guide in a couple of months. We used to WhatsApp every other night. And I think I told you,
Yeah.
I haven't heard from him. It's like, this is like doomsday scenario. If anything happened to my guide, I would be devastated, because he's like my best friend. Shots like this, the balloons over Bagan. I mean, no one will probably ever get a shot like this again. So I'm so glad so many of these are in my book, Passage to Burma.
Now, those balloons weren't just there. Did you stage them? Did you
No.
hire
These
them?
are
They were
balloons
just
over
there?
Bagan. Back then, there were only about 3, 4, 5 balloons. Like, let's see. Oh, I can't find that one with the 3 balloons that was on the cover of my book. When I was going since 2001, they only had a few balloons, and they started to proliferate. And the last time I was there, I think 2017 or 29, I can't remember last time I was there. There must have been 15, 17 balloons. It was ridiculous. Same thing happened in Turkey, in Cappadocia. Cappadocia balloons, who I became friends with, and they'd let me go up free and photograph for them. They only had a couple balloons. And Turkey is one of the most beautiful landscapes in the world. If you go online and you look at Cappadocia balloons, or you look at balloons over Cappadocia, it's absolutely sick. It's like the Albuquerque Balloon Festival. So when I was there, I had it nice. I want to see a few. the shot that's slightly green on the cover of my book that has like these 3 perfectly placed balloons. People go, did you put them there in Photoshop? I'm like, no, did not put them there in Photoshop. That was beauty to me, not just zillion balloons. So up until COVID, which devastated Burma, and then the military taking over right after COVID was relaxed a little bit, it got to be really, really bad. So who knows what's going to happen? Like I like this one balloon. I wait till it's in the perfect spot and I yell to my students, now, perfect time right now. What lens do you have on? Blah, 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 and I'm shooting and telling them what to do. So stuff like this. And then this one, I just toned a slight tone of green instead of using the color. This was Cappadocia balloons. We went above the clouds and I shot down at another balloon here. So I've actually jumped out of a hot air balloon once, bungee jumping. That was kind of,
Oh my God.
yeah, I was stupid. Actually, wait a second. No. I jumped off. I was asked to be on the world record bungee jump. Oh, I can't believe I got that confused. I was asked to jump out of a hot air balloon. ESPN was going to film it for the world record, jumping out of a hot air balloon. And then, wait, what was it? And in parachute, I can't remember now. And in parachuting, it was a whole big thing. I decided not to do it. It was too dangerous. I've jumped out a lot of other bungee jumping, but for some reason I remembered that. And I think I bailed. I didn't want to do it. How many of you have been to the Thor's Well on the Oregon coast? Has anyone been here? Raise your hand. This is one of my favorite spots on earth. This is really cool, Paul and Laura. It's this giant kind of hole right out off of the rock in Oregon, and the water comes in, gets sucked down, and then comes up. And I teach my class how to do slow shutter speeds right there. And it's so incredibly dangerous. I almost fell over and I would have ruined my Canon R5, but it's really spectacular. So it's right in the middle of the Oregon coast, and you have to know what you're doing. You have to follow high tide. You got to get set up. You got to, be really waterproof all over the place. Fun times in the Galapagos. Oh, shoot, picture of Lauren Paul I had. I'm so sorry. This is called Right Place, Right Time. He made it, I think, 12 times, roaring so loud. We stayed there the whole time. It was unbelievable. We were right there, right in front of him. It's a perfect little moment. That's Jaisalmer. Oh, I was going to show, I love shooting into the sun. I'm going to talk about a little later, right at the end of the thing. Shooting into the sun. I set that all up. Didn't set that up. This is in Prague. I was with my buddy who lives there. The sun big. Then again in Burma, the sun's small. I love shooting into the sun, and so many people get nervous shooting into the sun, but I love.
So what's your secret?
There's no secret. Just have a good exposure. Make sure things work right. And now when you're shooting mirrorless, it's just so much easier, because mirrorless, what you see is what you get. So if anybody's thinking about going into mirrorless, this is, it's like I would say going from digital to mirrorless is almost like going from film to digital. It's that huge now that mirrorless is finally good. So if any of you are contemplating going that way,
what is mirrorless? What are we talking about? What is that term?
Well, the light's coming in, it's not hitting mirrors and then going through your eyepiece. You're actually looking at like live view, it would be called, simulated TV screen of what you're seeing. But they do such a good job now of simulating that the cameras can be smaller and lighter. And as you're shooting exactly what you're seeing, not guessing what you're seeing with the exposure. It's a whole different way of shooting mirrorless. So the whole world's going mirrorless right now. This was just a few months ago in the Dolomites. It's just breathtaking there. So we haven't gotten into the teaching part, which I'm going to in a few secs.
Real quickly,
yeah.
Tony's asking, shooting into the sun, are you concerned about bleaching the color filter array on the detector?
Oh, Tony, are we getting heavy duty with our questions?
Always.
I would have thought you'd more say like, I would thought you'd say, are you worried about lens flare or something like that? No, I shoot in the sun all the time. The only thing you really want to positively do is take off your UV filter. I always shoot with a UV filter. You don't want to be shooting into the sun at all when you have a filter in there, because that's going to start to scatter the light and make more lens flare. No, I'm not worried about anything bleaching out. I shoot in the sun all the time. You just have to be careful. It's not this super monstrous. Here, watch, I'll go back. Look, low sun, low sun, low sun. Okay, so that's when you can get away with it. Okay, and the rest of the scene is beautiful. So the sun is just a part of it. It's not super. That's with a long lens right here. I'm far away from the old city, and we're way up on a hill. You want to get a big sun, you could go like a mile or two away from something, or 3 miles, and with a long lens, and you get a big sun. No, when the sun's low, I'm not worried at all, Tony. I shoot in the sun all the time.
I agree with you. I shoot into the sun all the time, and I used to worry about that, and I decided it was a non-factor.
No.
However, when I developed the cameras for space station, that was a big issue.
Oh, obviously, absolutely. Oh God, didn't I tell you that I got to hang out with Buzz Aldrin?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, that was, these highlights of my life, hanging out with him and his wife and talking about the LEM and how much he put into the whole thing. They just real quickly, in your opinion, if he wasn't on that project, they probably would have not have landed in July of '69, would they have?
Possibly not. I mean, he was the man of the moment.
He was integral. He told me everything he was doing. That was like his everything, his doctorate. I mean, he was just, I don't know how he knew so much about that, but that's what I got out of it. Like, if it wasn't for him, they wouldn't have been there. But thank God for John Kennedy too.
Oh yeah.
So does anybody recognize this? By the way, my father was invited to JFK's inaugural. That's how far back we go as Democrats. I knew I wanted to be at the Dark Hedges in Ireland and get side lighting, and that's what I did here. I'm going to talk about lighting a little bit later before I leave. And I knew where I had to be, and I wanted to be here. This is in the show Game of Thrones, and they shoot the sun. I knew by using an app I have called PhotoPills exactly where the sun would be and what time it would be there. And I got there, and it was exactly like I had planned.
Would you repeat where it is again?
This is at the top of Ireland. It's called the Dark Hedges. I forget the name of the town right here. It's a quaint, fun little town, and it's one of the most beautiful spots. I have this list of beautiful spots on Earth. Until you're here, you don't realize, oh my God, places like this really exist. I flew to Ireland just for this shot. But I also flew there to spend a couple of weeks with one of my best friends that lives there and my wife, and we went all around Ireland with him. He lived there. Hey, 33 and a third, let's go get a beer. It's so fun being around Irish people, but I would give him my shot list and he'd say, okay, let's go. And so being there with somebody that's Irish and their Audi, taking you everywhere is really the only way to go. And it was just really a fun time. And he got the shot too, and so did my wife. Here's a shot nobody will ever get again and for the rest of their lives. And I'm so fortunate to have this. You might think, oh, no big deal, it's the Eiffel Tower. Well, I've shot Paris so many times. I think I said just did a workshop there. One of my best friends lives there, and he's a top photographer. So whenever I'm there, even during my workshop, he was with me, and we take people to the best locations. Well, the Eiffel Tower now is an absolute disaster. I got great shots this last time, but you can never get this shot again. The Eiffel Tower now has a 10-foot bulletproof glass all the way surrounding the whole thing. So first of all, I couldn't get this shot because you can't even literally get to this spot. There is chain link everywhere. There are tubes going up to give stuff to the second floor, which is now a restaurant. This is untouched right here. No restaurant, nothing. This was a long time ago. I set up with a 14mm wide angle, wanted to be there during blue hour. Blue hour is the best time in the world rather than just black hour, which is the whole night. And there's no people hardly. So when you look at shots I'm really proud of this shot. It sells a lot also, but it means so much to me because there is nothing there. No people, no chain link fence, no bulletproof glass. I was just there, and the whole side of the Eiffel Tower was complete under construction. That happens to me if I'm in Cambodia, in Angkor Wat, the Taj Mahal. I'll be somewhere, and there's something going on destroying what I came to photograph. Well, this particular time, it was perfection. And this shot has been a big moneymaker for me, but it's hanging up in my office, but it also means a lot to me because there are shots I have no one will ever get again, which makes them more valuable. And you can see I did a different angle. I'd never seen anybody do this angle before. shooting on a tripod, angled up with a 14 millimeter, my new 14 millimeter, super wide. It's rectilinear, not a fisheye. And I got something that I hadn't seen anyone do before.
Wow.
Okay. So yes, my favorite thing in life. I've been traveling since I was probably, I don't know. I mean, traveling young, but with my parents around the US, but on planes from probably when I was 13. And my brother would live in different countries, so my dad would send me off. So I love traveling since I was really young. And so I always got the window seat too. But believe it or not, I opt many times now more for the aisle seat so that you can get up and stretch and pee and not have to bother to be next to you. But if I'm on a flight, like from, say, there are certain cities where I know when you come in, you have to be on this side of the plane or that side of the plane so you can shoot through. I'm trying to think of one which we just, I can't remember if it was Venice or what it was. But certain cities you want to be on the window seat. Believe it or not, this was clouds through here. I put New York City in here just to make it look like I was arriving in New York City. The planes are not that close coming over. The helicopters, yeah, I look just like this in a helicopter. But in fact, that shot in there is from a helicopter I did. But I wanted it to be like what it's like when you're on a window seat. So travel's my life. I love everything, but it's work. And so my life is this. I go on, I look for places I want to go. So I go to all these places, travel and leisure, get all the magazines. My wife and her are always looking, where can we go? What's cool? So I study everything here. I go to just every magazine, everything. National Geographic has a lot of stuff. They use my image of Sansan on the 20. They do this thing every year, the best trips. It's a great place to go also.
That's your shot, the little girl.
Yeah, that's Sansan. I love her to death. And then of course I have big maps, and we can stand and look in front of the map like, we're going to be here. Well, what would it take to go over here? We look for flights all the time. And I tell people, whatever you do not use Expedia, Travelocity, all that garbage. Do not use that. You can use it to find your flight and then say goodbye. Don't ever book with them. They're the worst. They're all owned by idiot companies, probably Elon Musk and places like that, who owns PayPal and eBay. I wouldn't give him a cent of my business, but they all are doing the same flights. Like if you find one with Air France on Expedia, then shit, I got the flight, go to Air France's website and book it there. You'll get someone on the phone instead of some idiot. All of these places are in the Philippines. They take an hour to answer the phone sometimes, and you're screwed if you want to cancel your flight or change it. You call Air France directly. You call United directly. Whatever you do, don't use those sites. They're the worst in the world. So I find where I want to go. I'm always researching on the web, getting books. My library of books is ridiculous. And then I put a lot of images on my laptop, iPad, and my phone, just like that. And then that lets me, when I travel, I have my ideas. I have a lot of ideas of things and places I want to capture. So in the hotel room, I have my laptop and I can go over to Polly and I'll show my guides. If I'm with guides, I want to go over here. Let's try this. And then I have them on my phone and I might go, you know what? I want to get a kid like this. And I go, let's look for a little kid and we'll paint him and we'll do this. Or wait a second, I want to shoot Vic when the light is over here in Iceland or something. So I have to have ideas near me because I can't remember everything. It's like, so I'm a very visual person. And then when I'm over there, I look for postcards. They are so important because the top photographers that shoot in those areas have their postcards for sale. So I teach all my students that also, postcards, look at them. You're gonna see one and go, where is this? And maybe ask the taxi driver, where is this? And I go, oh, it's over there. How many euro? Okay. And I get in the car and I go scout it out. So I scout out during the day and then I go back at a good time. I gave my guide some of my images. A few of these are mine right here so that he could make money off my images in Burma. And I found him like in some shack. So I just took a picture. It was kind of funny. But you want to be serious? You got to use a tripod. You don't want to be serious? You're not going to be serious without a tripod. So that's one thing I tell people. So this is my life. Scott, what's your life? My life is scouting. This is Santorini. I'm scouting out in bad light. I got to find out where I want to be. And I figure, you know what? I know where I need to be. The sun's going to be over there. I'll come back. It's sunrise. and that's how I get the shot.
Hmm.
It's all from scouting. If I wasn't, going here, I wouldn't know some of these locations, so I could not be here. My wife was asleep in the room. It was too cold, but I took my motorcycle. I parked it on the other side of this. I ran all the way down the walkway. If you haven't been to Santorini, it's probably one of my top 3 destinations in the world. I found a little perch up here. Thank God no one was there. I set up my camera on a tripod, put my panorama head on, and I shot a panorama, a 3 HDR, not handheld, panorama on my tripod, image stabilizer off. And that is Santorini. And I've done it before from here too, but this is my favorite one. The Rialto Bridge, I was just there again in April. It's where I asked my wife to marry me. I love shooting on the Rialto Bridge, but you can see the light sucked. I'm panning, I'm scouting what lens to use. And I know I want to be right here at a certain time. I want to come back at sunset and I'll deal with all the people. And then boom, you get the shot. But scouting lets me know where the light's going to be, and it lets me know what lens to use and what gear I need. This was my friend's house in Tuscany. She owned a house where Russell Crowe ran up with his wife and daughter were hung and burned in the movie Gladiator. This is the house. And so she lets me photograph on her property, but I was scouting out, but look, no clouds. Look at these small shadows. I just wanted to be able to tell some of my students where we're going to be shooting from, but we needed to come back with good light. So remember these bad shadows. Someone that snuck in might take the shot and be so happy, but I'm very fussy with my images. They have to be much more powerful. So bad light, small shadows, no clouds. Came back, and you can see long shadows, clouds. That's the shot I wanted. Look at the long shadows. Totally makes the shot, and I cropped it at the end. Okay, so remember, look at it before. Just a normal shot with a regular perspective, 2x3, which is what your camera shoots, and no clouds, and then boom. So scouting is everything, and I cropped off the bottom I didn't need. I cropped off some of the top, and many times when you get a panorama kind of feel, it's much more aesthetic. And these kind of images sell more now too. People put them over their beds in their bedroom. They put them in their living rooms. So I shoot more. I shoot more panoramas, or I crop images more into a panorama feel, because for this one company in Israel, I have to work on in the next week or two, 400 more images at least. It drives me crazy, and put in all the keywords. It's just sick because they represent me and sell my work. And I'm going to be cropping a lot like that. This was in, I think, May in the Dolomites. And we've been scouting and scouting everywhere to find this church and the view of the Dolomites here. And we were so happy because we found the shot. So my wife and our friend Robin, I had them celebrate, and they wanted a shot there. They were Instagramming the whole time. It was so funny. But it took us hours and hours. It really did. I mean, when you see a location, no one's sitting there going, oh, you need to go here or here. We had to up and down the mountains looking at all these roads. And finally we come up here. We came up here and what did we do? Oh, we parked. I parked by myself when I found it. And I walked over here, and then this guy comes out and starts screaming at me to get out of here. What I didn't realize, this is a really well-known spot, and no cars are allowed up the hill. So I parked, I took one quick shot, and I got busted. So we had to park way down here and walk all the way up. And then we spent some time up there, and then it enabled me to get the shot. So we came back and we shot it, and I'm hoping to do a workshop there in 24. And then it's when I find all the hotels and the roads and the logistics. So setting up a workshop is
work.
It's so much work. It's crazy. Same thing here.
Yeah.
Robin and I, 3 days in a row, we came up to this spot. It was all fogged in. Finally, on the 3rd day, before we left to go to Cortina, all the clouds came down, and we just were in heaven. It was so beautiful. But this is a magnificent view right here. It is so pretty. Anyway, location looks good. Light looks good. Time to shoot in the monastery. You paid no attention to me. My little monk buddies, I had my group there, and they were reading. I go, everybody get down on your stomach. And so we got cool shots like this. I've never seen anybody shoot stuff like this, but I just love being creative. And the monk masters give me this permission to do this stuff. This is a grand monk master. I was so lucky. He knows him. And so I used a telephoto right here. I let one other student shoot this shot. I knew it was going to be special. And that's the perspective I got.
Mm.
And I learned that he died a few years ago, and I was devastated, but I got the shot. I mean, that was me. Somebody shot me shooting him, which was so cool. And he's a Grand Monk Master, which is, he's the elder. There's Holly. She's actually, we do a lot of testing with the iPhone. The iPhone is fantastic because now they're getting so good, and especially with the 11 Pro going to wide angle lens, excuse me, I can do this was, I don't know if I was using the iPhone, but we do a lot of scouting with the wide angle lens of the iPhone. And then I know that this is going to work. I can do a test panorama. And I knew, oh, Holly, this is great. Came back a little bit later and get the shot. So I love scouting with an iPhone also, but you have to do stuff like this. You have to walk around, look for the location. It was kind of funny. I wanted a cool little shot of her. She had her red hunter boots. I love, here's where you get on the gondolas. I have the lights here. Sometimes the lights will come on, right? I know exactly like what time it'll come on. And I get that in the shot. Let me see if, oh, this next one, the lights were on, see? And they make a big impact also. There's places like this, I could shoot this with my eyes closed. I've done it so many times. I know so much of Italy inside out, and I love it. And I know just when the lights come on, where to put my tripod. I love Italy. I think Italy could be my favorite country in the world to live in and shoot in. And Holly and I were just talking about it a couple of days ago. So this is Prague. You can see the light's pretty bad. Right there. This is what I want to shoot. But the light sucks. But we scout it out. So we're scouting. There's a little cafe right next to me. We can have a drink. I was just there, God, September. Late September, and we were drinking and eating at the cafe right here, waiting for the sun to go down. We put our tripods like right here. I was teaching a workshop, so I had my group just put their tripods right here to hold our spots. We had Wi-Fi there so we could hang out, and then when it got dark, come back, and this is what we get. Complete different feel. But I knew exactly what I wanted to get because I've done it before. So this is what I just got. And that's what it looked like when we got there. So I'm an after dark freakazoid.
Specialist, yeah.
Now, what about stuff like this? Does anybody know what this is? Come on, someone put on their mic. Somebody better know what this is, or I'm not going to go on. Come on. Okay, we lost somebody. I can see they're invisible over there.
Oh, okay.
It's a Momo staircase.
Yeah.
So I was infatuated with Momo staircase, and I really, really wanted to shoot it, but this is not what I envisioned. So I flew to Rome before my Italy workshop just to get this shot. Sometimes I will fly to Dubai. I flew to get that one shot. I do other shots, but I fly for one shot. I flew to Rome for one shot. This is not what I wanted. That guy that's walking around is not going to see this. You should tell him to sit down. Hey, guy with the green jacket, you should see this. It's a good before and after. Okay, he's getting ready. He's getting ready to sit down. I don't know if you can hear me. There he is. Hey, you with the green jacket. Are you ready? Okay, so here is what I didn't want to capture, but I knew what I did want to capture. I wanted to capture this staircase, convert it to black and white, and have no people in it. So with my patience and planning, I said goodbye to everybody. And that's what I got. You like my little special effects?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got to do that again because it's just so cool.
Well, let it go a bit slower for us. Yeah.
Oh, mine goes really fast. If you tried this technique of putting a tripod, you still couldn't get it done because there's too many people. And guess what? No tripods are allowed in the Vatican. So I had to just be really creative. I had to bring in a mini tripod. I had to put it on the railing without them seeing. I had to pay before the group passed. So I was the first one in the as you come in, actually, this is the exit. So instead of going all the way through and coming out, I came in, I immediately made a U-turn. I was the first person here with my wife and one of my students. I set it all up with my super wide lens, 11 millimeter on a mini tripod, which was on the railing, like what this girl was, but I was above her and the railing above, you could see it right here. And I was on here. I snuck it in with a fanny pack because you're not allowed in with much. And I got exactly what I planned on. I absolutely planned on getting this shot with good lighting without people in the shot. And I just love capturing something that I know is in my mind's eye that I want to get. And so I'm really tenacious with my photography, and I got what I wanted.
It's what it takes.
That's just
I
Yeah.
tried other things too. I tried a vertical panorama. That's a vertical panorama with my 35 millimeter
Oh,
camera.
wow.
I'm holding it horizontally and shooting down to up rather than vertically going left to right. And so you can try things like this, and you can do this with your iPhone too, really easily. Just instead of holding it vertically and going left to right, hold your camera horizontally, aim down, and do a panorama and go up. And you can do a test vertical panorama with your iPhone. It's really
Very
cool.
cool.
So students how to do that. Students, because I test out things first. If I think it might be a good panorama, I usually test my iPhone somewhere horizontally or vertically, and then see how it comes out. And here's another one I did in New York City recently. This is a vertical panorama, which was really hard to do.
Wow.
Yeah, because I had to be on a tripod where everybody sits, you know, in the stands right there. Here's another one I did. And then setting this up in Burma, I knew what I wanted. Boom, I got what I wanted. A lot of ideas in my head. And then this is during my workshop. I had two or three boats. We had 3 boats, and we were shooting out in an egg. And I said, okay, we're going to do panning. We're going to shoot these longtail boat riders going back and forth. And then I showed them how to try different things like motion blurs, like this, where you get something sharp as long as you're panning with them, and then you blur the rest of the scene. So there's so many different ways to push your photography. So that was trying new things. And I threw this in just to show you what it's like. This is on my Oregon workshop in September. This is before I left for Paris and Prague. And then when I came back, I did Death Valley. It was a really busy 5 weeks. But this is what it's like. I took pictures of my group when we were shooting the sea stacks on the Oregon coast, and we're shooting the Milky Way. It's really fun.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah,
And
so
you meet
I
new
love-
friends.
Yeah. Everybody becomes buddies after that. And we keep the group chat going after that. So we stay in touch that way with the group chat. It's really fun. And then, of course, this is something new. This is my friend Betty. Can you see she's closing the window? I didn't realize that till after I saw the shot. She was scared because he was coming right up here. It was so funny. And I'm just shooting away, having fun.
Yeah.
But you got to do things like that to get great shots. And then also, I love
Nice.
trying different things. I got these guys from their village. While my group was buying jewelry, I just took some of the tribes, guys, and we shot the Maisamara, we shot the Samburu. I got the spears, and I decided to try something, and then boom, come up with something different. And it was kind of fun shooting wide angle from a low perspective. The sunlight was just beautiful.
Yeah.
The
Makes them look
workshop-
all the taller too. Wow.
Yeah, I was just playing around. It's just kind of fun. And then I met this girl on my workshop, and I said, "You want to model for me?" And she said, "Yeah." So we had some fun. And look at that. It was just like, are you kidding me?
I think the seals are modeling as well.
What'd you say?
I think the seals are modeling as well, posing for you.
Those are sea lions.
Sea lions, thank
The
you.
sea lions have the flippers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was modeling. Yeah, you could say. I mean, it's just like, are you kidding me? It's right in front of me. It was great.
Yeah.
So I'm going to end this part by saying, you've got to scout. You've got to scout and come back at the right time. And that's what gets you the shot. It's my Acadia National Park workshop. I love shooting there. I mean, look at that. These are the cliffs. You can see what it's like. And so you're right on the edge of cliffs, but that's what gets you the shot. You don't see where I'm standing. You see the ultimate shot afterward.
Yeah.
A little bit in the faces. I love shooting in Turkey, India, Burma. I really work on depth of field, where I want to set my focus point, what f-stop I want, how much blur I want. A lot goes into that. I put the red scarf that was around her neck over her head to try something different. I don't have people smile looking at me most of the time. A lot of the time I have them looking away. I teach a lot of how to capture faces out in the world. I had him hold my soft gold reflector. You could see it in his eye right here, right under his face. So it would reflect the light up here and give a cool catch light. It was kind of fun. This is another girl. I said I had another girl. I face painted her differently. This time she had her eyes open. I had her look to the side. I didn't want her to look at me. We did a different pattern on her face. We're going to be doing this again, hopefully in March with my group. I think they're really excited. My friend Kashish, she's one of my models in India. That's at the Taj Mahal. I picked out the outfit for her. I love shooting beautiful faces around the world. I put his robe over his head. We were at a monastery in Mandalay, and it was a school. It was a monastery school. They were all in school, and I wanted to try something different with him. This is one time that I planned this on purpose. I set up my tripod. I let a couple of my students shoot, and then these are all my buddies. So they all love me whenever I come back. And so I was pulling up my shirt and I was screaming because you never see the little monklets laughing. And to me, it's rare. So I posed them, I put them where I wanted them. I had a couple holding the top thing. So I set up what I wanted. And I got something really rare, having them all smile because they have such a different life. I mean, their whole life is, if you know about Buddhism, they're searching for nirvana. They just study, they eat, and they pray. Yeah, they play a little bit of football here, but they give me access to where they sleep. I photograph them when they just have a mat on a hard floor. I'm sitting there, complaining about my pillow. These guys don't even have a pillow. So I get to be with them for them to laugh. This is very special, and to capture them laughing, because most people don't ask the monk masters to do what I do. And I've never seen anyone else do something like this. And that's just my passion. It's one of my biggest passions is shooting the monks of Burma. And I'm just so sad because I don't know when I'm coming back. It's such a beautiful place. Yeah. She's a little girl. They face paint with Tanaka face paint there. And I go up and I take them on the temples. I've taken the little monks up to the top of the temples. They came with us in our van, and I take them around Burma. It's like they never go inside a car, and they've been with me. I've taken them to different places. They give me permission. So I took her up here. This is Sansan. This is another girl. She was the first girl. This was the first little girl I ever photographed, 2001. In Bagan, and that started my love affair for shooting in Burma. And this shot, the first time I sold it sold for $1,300. Nobody had shots like this. It became like my most prolific shot. It still sells. Still in the Nat Geo gallery. It was so perfect. And I called this close focus wide angle. I was probably about this far from her, about 15 inches away from her. And I have a wide angle lens to get Pagan. I shot it at sunrise. Her mom put on new Tanaka face paint. She knew I was coming back in the morning because I said, I'll see you in the morning with good light. She bought her a fresh rose and she got her a new dress. It was like she was so excited, and we're buddies to this day. It just means so much. And see, I had her look away. I'm not into, hey, smile. I don't teach that kind of photography. It brings out who she really was. And this image is hanging up huge in my bedroom. That's how much it means to me, with a light on it. We do this. I paint some of the elephants in Jaipur. Like, they are painted typically, but I typically put on fresh paint, and I get special access in Jaipur where the elephants go up to the Amber Fort and give people rides. Well, they have a place where they sleep and they eat. I found out where that was, and I take my students there. I've never seen anyone else go there, and we get access to paint them, to hang out with them, and shoot these incredible shots. With the trainers, I have the trainers asleep on them. I do all kinds of fun stuff. So when people come on my workshops, they get a lot of extra that you wouldn't think, and it's really fun. I love people coming on my workshops, and I love shooting animals. This is in really tight with my
your leopard buddy.
Huh?
Your leopard buddy. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a beautiful leopard. I have him yawning and everything. And then,
oh, wow.
Special shot, special moment, pretty rare, gotta say. But like these women right here, they sweep. That's all they do is sweep Amber Fort. I became friends with them. I pay them money, and they model for me. They get in trouble with their bosses, but they love seeing me because I'll be seeing them again in March and doing more shots, and I get to do things like this. I stop people from walking, and it's always inundated with people. And I try and do things, that's what they look like. But there's typically a zillion people walking here. And the shot, I wait, look at the long shadows and everything. I want to get the shot with no people in there. I don't, God, I can't remember if we could use tripods, but to try and do this with tripods would probably be a nightmare, because it just wouldn't work. And one workshop a little while ago, she's my buddy. I set her up looking kind of contemplative, looking out, and I put the other girl back here just to try something different. And my group loved that shot right there.
The depth. Wow.
Yeah, it was cool. So much to think about. Finding great faces. What about my gear? Can I use a tripod? What about the weather? How do I get around? Can I shoot after dark? Where the hell's my hotel? Why didn't I go by myself? Forget about all of this. Let's go get some pizza. I mean, it's crazy. It's really, really crazy. So this is coming towards the end, but I wanted to talk about the light. Photography means painting with light. That's really the definition, painting with light. And so everything is about the light. So it doesn't matter what kind of photographer you are, you really have to feel the light, look for the light, search for the light, judge the light, just really understand how to work with the light. And so I'm going to show you a lot of examples, and I'll show you where I am. Sunset in Santorini, it was breathtaking with the light coming through. So I call this dappled sunlight coming through. And when you see that, you got to shoot it. It's rare. Fishermen in Indian Lake, I've shot them for so many years, I can't believe it. But this day, the water was golden. It literally looked like that. So I had golden water across the water. And it's happened several times. And the cool thing is, my students get this. When I'm doing a workshop, if I'm not there on my own, my students get this. I pay all of these men. They're typically out there making $1 or $2 a day. And they're fishing. And this is how they catch the fish. They throw this down. They paddle with one leg. They're the only one-legged fishermen in the world. And he's sitting there waiting. So actually, what I do is I set them up in positions I like, because I'm not going to capture what I want if I don't. Some people might go, that's not realistic. I really don't care. You can shoot how you want. I'm creating a piece of art. And I tell my students, you're the artist. Do whatever the hell you want. I don't care what it is. As long as you don't put 5 moons in an image that totally looks stupid. Create your own vision. And so I'm creating my own vision. And also, I'm creating something that's going to sell. Someone might want to hang this up over their fireplace. So that's what I'm going after. So this is golden water across. And it's fun. And if you just touches the water, then I get the ripples. So everything's going on in my mind, how to make it perfect. This was on the cover of the Death Valley Visitor's Guide. I've had several images on there. This one was cool because I take my group out to the sand dunes of my special locations. This is shooting right into the sun, just like was it Tony who was asking me? Tony, you were asking me about that, right?
Yeah, it was
And
Tony.
he's got some technical questions here in a bit too.
Okay. You can kind of ask along as I'm doing this, but this is shooting into the sun. We always do it. I tell them to take off their UV filters and look at the rays. I was going for great rays. So right at sunrise, when you're shooting maybe around F9, F11, F16, you're going to get that starburst, but sometimes, depending on your particular lens, are the kind of ray. And I love this shot, and the Rangers loved it, so they said, can we use it on the cover of our visitors guides? It was on there for forever. Shooting right into the sun here in Sedona. What's this called? Forget. It's one of my favorite spots right here. I'm blanking. I've hiked to the top of this, by the way. It's a great hike. You guys ever want to do a cool hike, Paul? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Shooting right into the sun. Sedona with star trails. Well, this is from the city lights. I didn't light paint any of this. This is existing light. So I harness the light that's already there, and I try and figure out the exposure. And then I try and figure out, what if my corresponding exposure, these are star trails. And these are colorful star trails, though. Did I say colorful? Oh, they're colorful star trails, not just white. There's so many different ways to shoot star trails. Rio Maggiore in the Cinque Terre, one of my favorite places in the world is the Cinque Terre. Artificial light and ambient light. This is Manarola in the Cinque Terre. Artificial light and ambient light. The Cinque Terre means the 5 earths or the 5 lands. So these 5 incredible incredible villages on the coast. You can only access by train. So you take a train from La Spezia or wherever else you are. You come in from Florence or Venice. You stop in La Spezia, pick up more people, and then you cruise along the coast, stay wherever you want. You can stop here. You can go to the next one. 5 different places, and they're all, well, 3 of the 5 are crazy beautiful, and the other 2 are really cool too. But I usually stay in Manarola, Rio Maggiore, and Vernazza. And this is Vernazza, and I shoot the artificial light and the ambient light, and I know all the cool spots to go to, and it's just fun. So the horses again in the south of France. I have my guides put them in the ocean and run straight towards us. Sweet. I mean, this shot sells so much, it's crazy. But when you see horses in the ocean coming at you that are all white, it's kind of rare.
Yeah.
And then look how sharp this is.
Mm.
It's all about if I want motion or if I want sharpness. There's no in between. So this had to be sharp. But I shoot them also blur when I'm tracking them and panning and stuff. But this was soft sunrise light. Candlelight. I love shooting people in candlelight. In terms of photography, you could say this is my main light and this is my fill light. Very much like in shooting motion pictures, same thing. So I had extra light here, and her eyes were getting a little bit red because it was getting a little bright. She was such a trooper. She's still, to this day, my friend. She's got kids. She sees me, hugs me. I love her. She helps me get props when I do shoots. When I go back, she's one of the people walking on the Ubain Bridge holding a lantern. I mean, I just have memories. She's a grown woman now. I just love her. Candlelight. Candlelight with ambient light. This was during the day where I had to block off with huge boards all of the ambient light coming in. Some still spilled in, and I set all this up. This took hours to set this up. But in my mind, I knew what I wanted to do. People have been copying me for years. I guess you could say, flattery or all of that or whatever, but it gets kind of annoying after a while. But the one thing they don't do is they don't spend forever searching for the perfect faces and the perfect monks. He was perfection. I will see people try and copy me and do things, and they just grab a monk because they don't know what they're doing. But you have to know about portrait photography, who's going to work, what size he is, how his hair looks, the shape of his eyes, the robe. Some have darker robes, So I got him. I put him over here. I let my workshop show this. I said, but please don't try and sell this image. I'm letting you shoot this. I don't normally do that. But this particular shot I didn't want to do because this is hanging up in the gallery. It's selling for $10,000. And I don't want other people trying to do that. So they still could do that, but they don't have this exact shot and they don't process the way I do. But I put a candle in his hand. I made him look down. I said, close your eyes. I set up all these candles like this. I put all the candles up here. He helped me. His buddy helped me. My guide helped me. And my wife helped me. And just blocking off all the light. It took hours, but it was worth it because those 4 words, I got the shot. It's out of my mind. I knew what I wanted. My mind's eye told me. And Paul, I can't tell you what it's like to come home, know I have it, and now the post-processing starts. And hours and hours, maybe days on one shot to get it how I want.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And this one took me 2 minutes to come up with. I went into the monastery where my group was waiting outside. I wanted to see if I could set up something for my group. So I went in with some candles. I came in with my guide. I had the rest of my group. I think maybe my wife came with me. I grabbed 3 monks. I thought they had great faces because they were all eating and they were somewhere else. We walked into this room. I go, whoa, this is where they sleep. You see their little beds. Oh, they actually had cots, not the floor, but you can see their mats on the floor. So some had these cots. So this is where they sleep. You can see all their robes hanging up. Nobody's allowed in these rooms. They give me permission. I've never even seen anyone else shoot in a room where the monks sleep. It's completely forbidden. I went in here. It was wooden like they all are. It was beautiful. I put down my candles and these little things. I set them up. I found some of their books and I set them up with his legs like that, his legs down, him like this. I just love coming up with these different angles to set them up to make it look natural, but to be like exactly like they would be because they're constantly reading and they're constantly praying. I set it up. I took the shot. I go, perfect. And I went and I got my group and I did different things with them. So this was one before the group even came in. But it's mixing ambient light that was coming in, see through the windows with candlelight. Think about that. If I didn't have the candlelight here, see the light here? That's the ambient light. This is the candlelight. So I teach this in classes when I teach shooting people. I teach a class called Eye to Eye Capturing the Face. and it's to do stuff like this, how to mix this kind of light without using strobes and stuff. This was in a really 6 hours and horrible rough seas to get to this place, Meru, really dangerous too. But the monk master there was a complete nincompoop, so mean. I had to beg just to get one monk, and he let me go in this place. But he had a great face, and I lit some incense over here so that I could get the light rays. I had to think outside of the box. How do I get the rays to be strong? Well, when there's dust or incense, that's how the rays come through. And I shot him all by himself, and I had him close his eyes. So things like this mean a lot. And my stock agency at the time highlighted this image, and I gave them the color one, and they absolutely loved it. So this is in Cork, soft sunrise light, 8 million mosquitoes biting us. We couldn't even breathe, but it was worth it because we got the shot. It was absolutely beautiful. Look at those reflections. It was like you couldn't ask, and we had flamingos. It was really cool. So here's the dark hedges again, soft side lighting coming in at sunrise. This is the light shooting right into the light at sunset. Iceland looking at the sky. Very similar to shooting the Milky Way, probably 15-second exposure at 2.8. And that's when you get the dancing light of the aurora. It's just so incredible.
Yeah.
Shooting right into the sun again. One of my favorite shots, this big, beautiful sun.
Yeah.
In this is thousands of years old, these temples. This is about as special as it gets. And I don't have this hanging up anywhere. I've never even printed this shot. And it's one of my favorite shots. I have so many favorite shots that I've never printed. It's just crazy. I haven't printed this either, but I just love shooting right here. Soft overcast light, top of the Rialto Bridge, the Grand Canal. This is one of my top 5 favorite spots on Earth. How many of you have been here?
I have. Yep.
And yes, I've been there about 7 or 8 years ago for Carnival.
Think about that. Where can you go and put your camera and you're guaranteed to get a spectacular image? I just wait until the big boats. These big boats are kind of mostly out of the picture. Otherwise, they're going down here. I don't mind the smaller ones, but I wait till I get a good spot because to me, nothing says Venice like the gondolas. Here's the gondolas. Here's the gondolas. And then if they're in the water. So stuff like that sells, especially people who've gone there on their honeymoon. And then beautiful sunrises, like in places like Death Valley. This was a really beautiful sunrise. And I let all my students shoot this. It was really cool. We were shooting sunrise to the left. And I saw this. I told everyone, move your cameras to the right. And everybody got this. So sometimes you get these lenticular clouds and you get beautiful stuff. Africa, light rays through clouds. It's spectacular. I love finding cool light rays. I love shooting reflections in the water. This was really pretty. We're almost at the end. Gondolas with lightning. Check that out. I had my group shooting this right when the rain stopped. So we had the right exposures. And some of us got the lightning right here. It was spectacular. Never have seen anybody get lightning with gondolas. I was just, and my students were screaming too. It was great. I light a lot of incense and I pose my monks to do different things. I watched my depth of field, focused on his eyes, and I purposely blurred this out to probably f4, f5, 6, and then focused, the right way. It's kind of fun playing around doing stuff like this. This was door light spilling in. I saw that he just had a little bit of rim light right here. So I stood back here. I got close to his face, had him open his eyes, very contemplative looking here, no smile. And then I let some of my students shoot that too. So that shot means a lot to me because he was so special. Doorway light, that's all it was. The door was over here, left, and it just spilled in and wrapped his face in his robe. I talked about panning. Middle of the day, harsh light, terrible light, but as long as you have your camera set down to ISO like 50, or you have your 3-stop or 6-stop ND filter on there, you can shoot. This was probably half a second, and we're all going to be here in the center of Varanasi in March doing the exact same thing. There's 4 different spots because it's a center of this circle, thing where the cars drive around, roundabout. And people can be to my left shooting, my students can be behind me, they can be to my right, and we can be this way. Every shot is amazing. And we're all going to be doing the same thing, shooting blur, all in around Varanasi. So this is the kind of stuff I love, playing with the camera. Absolutely love playing with the camera and shooting silhouettes. shooting into the sun is one of my favorite
Oh
things.
boy, look at that.
I set up this stuff. I got the teapot and I had her hold her hat. I had them set up the horses here for my group at sunrise. I had them doing stuff like this, which is really cool. And this was what it looks like when they're going by. So I actually shot with my rancher in the shot, just so you could see this. I don't really show this to people, but that's what it looks like. And that's what we end up getting. So it's kind of cool. But I like this. And this is the kind of shot I will blow up and give to them to say thank you the next time. And I just did that when I came back. I gave them shots. And that's what it looks like right at sunset. It's kind of
Wow.
special.
Yeah.
And I set this up. I'm not just going to be in the middle of nowhere where 5 women walk by with baskets. I knew where I wanted to be at sunset. And I actually let my group shoot this too. And it came out pretty cool. And I made sure we shot wide enough to get the temple to show a sense of place right there. So this was kind of fun because this is what they do. They walk around with a basket. Well, instead of just capturing one, why don't I, do something really cool, shooting them as a silhouette at sunset.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Wow.
yeah.
And then, so we're almost at the end. Reflected light from above. That's what it looks like in slot canyons. Reflected light coming down. That's what it can look like. This was special just a few months ago. Light rays coming through the clouds. In Florence, I got there with my group and it was just, the skies opened up. It was so special. So it's always about the light. Always, but don't forget to look up.
Don't forget to look up.
Look down.
Yeah,
And don't
look
forget
around.
that safety belt.
Oh, yeah. Don't forget your safety belt.
One last thing, I put this in here, the color red. It's really special.
Hmm.
I'm always looking for the color red.
Oh, yeah.
You can just see how cool red is in
Mhm.
images.
Yeah.
Your eye just goes right to it.
Yeah.
It's magical. I just thought about it a while ago, and I said I got to put some shots in, and I had never done that before. But I realized red. Look, China, a mall in China. What? This is so cool.
Yeah.
Mhm.
China, Galapagos. It's like crazy.
Mm-hmm. It works
So red is really special. My wife, my friend's mother in India. That was my friend and his girlfriend. Oh, my first shot with 7 monks in Burma. I put them all together with my new 14 millimeter. It was something I'll never forget. And I got the parasols from the monk master. I said, "Can I borrow these?" No one was going into monasteries asking. I put all 7 of them in a taxi with the parasols. They're giggling the whole way. They'd never been out of their monastery. And I brought them to this temple I wanted to shoot them on, and I got on my back. And it was just so much fun. Oh, I have so many memories. Color red. Oh, try to make her into a ninja. You're the artist. That's what I was telling you earlier.
Mhm.
Beautiful man. Yeah.
Use that imagination. I love having fun like this. Another one, I got on my back and I put them together and they're all laughing and smiling. So much fun. The rest of the group's buying jewelry. I'm photographing the tribes. Like, I don't need jewelry. I want to shoot you guys.
Yeah. No trinkets for me.
Exactly.
But it does help support them.
Oh,
But
yeah.
don't
sure.
get carried away. Absolutely. I don't know if I told people, but I'm a rhinoceros hypnotist. So the last thing, the greatest photograph of all time, considered the greatest. Does anybody have a clue?
No.
Tony should know this one.
Go ahead.
Considered
Oh,
the greatest
yeah.
image ever taken.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Earthrise.
Yep. It's
Earthrise.
it's pretty spectacular. Anyway, that is the end of our show, ladies and gentlemen. And guess what? It's before 12. Let's answer some questions.
All
Wow,
right. Well,
nice, Scotty. Thank you for putting all that together.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
thank you for letting us see inside your head and your eye and your trips and what you
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. Yeah. It could be a lot worse. I could be working in a bank, but I got to tell you, sitting here, Ollie, where should we go January? And we look at a map. Oh, we got to go here. Let's try this. And it's kind of fun, actually. So, and I love photography. I'm still not bored of it after all these years. And I love travel. So it was like, boom, they come together and I'm still having fun.
Yeah.
And capturing the light. And I like the fact that you use the monasteries as a means of not only capturing the exterior light, but the light of that human being, the beautiful eyes and the face and the way that
Silhouettes.
the silhouettes, and it really speaks so loudly. Yeah.
I'm really hard on myself. I got to tell you, I look at other people's work and I go, like I have other photographers' work up in my house. I want to be, mesmerized by their work, and I want to be driven. And so that's the way I am. I'm just not, I don't want to go to the same place and tell people to do this. I keep telling them, think outside the box. Remember what Steve Jobs said, think different. 15 people have shot it from over there. Go over there, get on your stomach, come back later. And I have to be that way with myself. And my wife feels the same way. She never even wants to be with us. She wants to be somewhere completely different wherever we're shooting, because she just doesn't want the same thing. So it's kind of funny, but people can't forget their iPhone. The iPhones are amazing. Yes, they're now shooting in RAW. They can get great images. It's not the same as having a camera where you can change your lenses. You don't get as high a quality. But the iPhone, if you want to be simple, you want to be lazy, if you don't want to use it for just scouting, you could just take it and get some great shots now, especially shooting in RAW, which means you can put it into Photoshop or Lightroom and really work the hell out of it and get some damn good images. So I'm amazed at that.
We're all equipped here.
Yeah.
We have Tony. I see my sister Kim might have some questions.
Go ahead.
She's a photographer. Yeah, you asked a while ago, Tony, about some technical input. Do you still have some questions?
Yes, I do. First of all, Scotty, absolutely amazing body of work.
Thanks, Tom.
I'm stunned by it. I love it. From the point of view of art, skill, adventure, all the things you've tried, just really great.
Thank you.
One of the things which I'm contemplating now, at one point I did quite a bit of photography. I used to shoot with an 8x10 view camera.
Oh, okay. You know what it's like.
Which was a different world. And then I shot a lot with Nikons, and now I shoot with an iPhone, which I will upgrade because it's a 10 Pro. But I do.
Did you have the 3 lenses on the 10 Pro? I don't think you did.
No. It did not have the 3 lenses yet.
Yeah, you need that. Yeah.
I still get some pretty interesting stuff, but I actually use a tripod very frequently with my iPhone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which really helps out a lot, just as you said.
If you're going to iPhone, by the way, if you're going to upgrade, by the way, I would wait till the 15. The 14 is really good, but people are already talking about the 15 because think about it. It's a 10, it's a 15. That's the one that they're probably going to do some more major changes with, and it's only going to be next September. So if you can wait, I would wait. Don't get the 14.
Well, yes, I thank you for that advice, and I understand that they're doing a lot with anti-bloom so that you can look at the moon or the sun and it doesn't become a huge object.
They're trying to do a lot of cool things with the 15. So I was thinking of upgrading to the 14 because I still only have the 11, but I would still, if you can wait,
All right. But my second question is I have been contemplating returning to heavy duty equipment again.
Mm-hmm.
I understand with the new digital cameras, my Nikon Pro lenses are all toast, that they are not usable anymore.
No, that's not true. No. If you have a decent lens, so many people are using their older lenses. The newer lenses are mated and they are better, but it depends, if you want to be crazy like I am. But I still have my older Canon lenses with an adapter to go on my new Canon R5 because it just, I have a $3,000 11 to 24 millimeter lens. I want to still be able to use it. And I've got some of the best images in the world from doing that. So no, you don't have to buy all new lenses if you upgrade your camera. Absolutely not. There's one of my students I just talked to, she goes, I can afford the new R5, but I can't afford the new lenses. I said, absolutely buy the new adapter. I told her which one, and she's going to use her lenses. She's coming to India with us and she's going to be fine. So it depends also if your lens is from 1955 or 65 or something, that might be too old.
They're not that, but I have some nice lenses, but I probably would not be using things like the perspective control lens and things like that.
Right, yeah, maybe not.
But my next question, of course, is camera. And for a while I thought I must stick with Nikon. Now I'm not so sure. I want to be able to get stars. I want to be able to shoot into the sun or the moon and not have them be blurred. Those are 2 requirements. I want to travel. I hear that Sony has come out with a new one of their new alpha cameras. You're shooting with an R5 Canon. I understand the Canon does better for star images than the other cameras.
No, not necessarily. No, not necessarily. But that's something you and we should probably talk on the phone about, okay? Because
I
that's
love
really
that.
deep, and there are so many ways to go. I will agree. It's Sony, Nikon, and Canon. They're at the top, and it's this battle now that is crazy. So, well, why don't you and I will exchange numbers, or Paul will help us, and let's talk on the phone, because I love talking to people about gear more than anything, and I want to make sure they buy the right gear and they don't listen to a freaking camera salesman, because that guy doesn't care about you. He just cares about the bucks. So there's a lot to know about that. So if you don't mind, why don't we do that? We'll talk on the phone about that. Okay.
That's perfect. Well,
That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
thank you
Yeah.
for an amazing program. I totally enjoyed it.
Oh, cool. Yeah, Paul, hook us up and we'll
We'll
figure
do
that
that.
out.
And
Absolutely.
by the way, Scott, Tony is scheduled to come visit us in Sedona as well. So we could even have a little
When's
get.
he coming?
Well, we're still talking
To be
about
determined,
yes,
but
hopefully soon, right?
Oh,
Tony?
good. Oh, Tony, I get to meet you in
Month or
person.
so.
That'd be really cool. I'd
Yeah,
love
Yeah,
that.
it would be
Yeah.
great.
yeah.
Another really quick question. Do you
Okay.
have to deal with model releases when you capture people particularly in third world,
Oh,
or,
yeah.
or
My
not?
life, Tony, was model releases. If you have any idea how many model releases I have signed, that's because I was with Corbis, I was with Getty, I was with Superstock, I was with this, I was so many stock agencies, because I was a travel photographer slash stock photographer. The stock is done in the toilet, right? Hopefully the stock market is up, but stock, photography is down. So I had to do that with everybody and avoid getting sued, which has almost happened in the past. No, now if you want to shoot, you could always shoot anyone you want. You could sell your images if you want. There is no problem with that. You just have to know where to sell. You cannot give your images to newspapers, and they cannot be used for advertising. And that's when you need a release. Okay. So I've had images used, for just major campaigns, but whether it's property or it's people, have to have a release that's signed. And that's how it works. So you could shoot whoever you want. You could put it on your website. You could sell their image if you want in posters. You could do whatever you want. You could have it in a magazine, but as long as it's not for advertising in the magazine or any kind of newspaper. That's really weird about the newspaper aspect of it. So don't worry. Most times you can shoot and you never have to worry about that.
Okay.
This makes
Okay.
life a lot easier. Thank you. Well, I'll save my other questions and let other people.
Yeah, when we're on the phone, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I'm gonna go
Kimberly.
to Laura's sister, Kim. Kim she has a full photography studio at her home. She
Okay.
collects ancient cameras all the way back to the 50s, and she has
Oh, I
a
love
display
that.
on the wall.
love
Kim
that.
also was a rock and roll photographer, so she traveled on the road and took pictures.
Is her name Kim Miller?
Yes,
I've heard of her. She's world famous.
yeah, that's her.
Hey, Kim, I saw your name up there. Hey.
Hi, Kim.
Hi.
Kimberly.
Yes.
Anyway, I was so fortunate to be the photographer for a rock and roll band, and just amazing, and going through 100,000 images. Anyway, it's wonderful
That is cool.
and very beautiful to look at your photography and hear you talk, and the postcard ideas and all these different things. It's
Cool.
wonderful. And I think it's a real gift to be a photographer and capture these images, and
Last a lifetime. Yeah.
and it makes you, being a photographer, it makes me pick my head up and look around too.
It does. I tell people I feel like when I'm looking, I feel like a movie camera because
Yes.
I'm trying to look at everything. And actually, sometimes when I shoot, I have I have a few ways. Like if I think something might be photogenic, I either do this. Okay, this is a tip I've done since I was a kid. I put my hand like this. So this is telephoto,
Right.
wide angle. So it's blocking out all the periphery, and I can kind of right off the bat I go, oh yeah, because when you're looking like this, you see everything. You don't know for sure, but I go like I'm looking at you now. I go, oh, this is a great shot of Kim. Yeah, because that light isn't blaring in my eye, and that taxi cab isn't in a shot or whatever. And then wide angle, I go like that, or I will take, if it's safe to walk, I'll put the camera right to my face and I will walk. And I will look like this. So I'm not looking with my eyes, I'm looking what the camera sees. So I have different ways to really, my wife just walked by. I say hi, hi.
Hey, Holly.
So so I can kind of be in the moment like I'm actually a movie camera, or I'm a still camera right there. And it helps because it's this big, beautiful world out there, but you have to figure out what you really want to capture. So that's cool that you got to do that too. What band was it?
The Steve Miller Band.
Oh, Fly Like an Eagle. Oh my God, what a great band. Love
We
them.
were married for 30 years. Yeah, it was wonderful.
Wait, you were married to Steve Miller? Yeah.
Was.
Oh, that's why your last name is Miller. Oh, that's so cool. Wait, who was I just talking with? And they were, my friends with Andy Summers of the Police, and I've been to his house, and became a photographer during the police days, and he
Yes.
chronicled the police and Sting and everybody, and he had a book out, and he showed me when I was at his house, and I talked to other photographers that have done what you've done, been in the band and chronicled it, and it's so cool. So that's amazing. I was talking about that yesterday with my friend that helped Andy get his whole show together, just printed every image and everything like that. And it's so cool to be able to be that close to a band, to just like I was watching a thing yesterday with Pete Souza. He was Obama's photographer before he was president, when he was a senator. And I was watching Pete talk, because every time he talks, he's got a book out now. And it's so cool to be on the inside there. Any little image of just relaxing, drinking coffee. Someone else might think it's kind of pedantic, but are you kidding? It's this special image that'll last forever. It means so much. So that's very cool that you got to do that.
Yes, and I knew these guys so intimately. I mean, as friends, that they were very comfortable with me, and I got things that other people couldn't have gotten.
Oh, that just gives me
also
chills.
got her first camera as a child, and she says,
did.
"Lucky I didn't get it. She did."
Right,
And
Really?
she
my
also
God.
says her camera. She's never lonely with her camera. It's one of her constant companions.
How old were you when you got your first camera?
I was 10.
So we were around the same age.
Yep. And
It's pretty special then.
I still have it, and it was just magical.
It is. It's kind of life-changing for those. And then you have people like, I can't wait to see Spielberg's new movie, right? The whole movie's about his life. Meet the, what is it, the Mandelbaums or whatever the name he gave to it. Have any of you seen it? I guess it's not out yet. Maybe it's coming out at Christmas. That movie you guys have to see. You have to see it, Mrs. Miller. You got to see it. It looks freaking amazing. Oh my God. So, man, thanks. That's cool.
There's also another Kim Smith Miller that's a photographer in Portland. So I don't know, and she's great.
Kim has published 2 books.
That's great.
So, of photography.
I'd be happy to send them to you. I'll get your address from Laura and Paul.
Oh, I would love that. I would love that. Oh my God.
Well,
Your
we love
perspective,
it.
it just means so much to me. Yeah, growing up around that is so cool.
And Kim is also going to come visit and spend time with you, so we'll have time.
Okay, I want to say hi to you when I see you, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm still good friends with Steve. I just saw them at their 2 shows here in Seattle, and all is good.
Yeah.
Rock and roll, rock and roll, rock and roll.
Yeah. Very cool.
She's done it with every boyfriend. She's remained friends.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool.
Commendable. Yeah.
Oh, can we say hi to Holly real quick? Hey, Holly, turn on.
Hi.
Thank you, Laura. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Kim.
That's my wife.
Click Kim off.
Oh, say
She's my
goodbye.
student.
Oh, all right, Holly, come on over for a second and say hi.
She was my student, and
Let your wife in.
she
Yeah.
tracked me down and forced me to marry her at gunpoint. And it worked out.
Yeah, you can tell that he's so easy to get along with, but no, it's a pleasure to have you 2 together. What a dynamic couple, in the way that you work together, travel the world together, handle this business together, the family business, and all that you do. It's pretty impressive. And,
It's fun.
It's a great life. I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, I feel like I'm retired, but I'm not.
Yeah.
A lot of work to do.
Well, I definitely feel like I'm retired.
Yeah, she gets to watch me do all the work, but she helps a lot.
Yeah.
But Holly, you have your own eyes. So Scott was mentioning that he goes to a specific thing and has a specific agenda, and you say, "I'm going to go do my own thing. I got something else going on." Is that kind of how it works?
Absolutely. I also don't really want anyone photographing what I'm photographing too
I see.
at the same time.
Can I show you really quickly something really special?
Sure.
Can I share the screen real quick? I'm going to show you what she did, okay? Which is really different. I'm going to share the screen.
Okay.
If we have a minute for it.
Yep.
Okay, you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, so Holly, we were in the Louvre, not the Louvre, we were in the Academia in Florence, and Holly was shooting. Oh, let's see. I'm going to do this. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so we were shooting. I was telling everybody to shoot the artwork. Holly went and shot the artwork on the wall. Okay, and hang on a second. Holly shot the artwork, right, and came home later, and she layer masked in some of the artwork behind Michelangelo's David, and then converted it to a sepia. Isn't that cool? That is really spectacular. So she tries to think outside of the box. I'll show you. Like she did one here on the Duomo. She layered masked in part up there, which is something on the wall over here behind the bicycles. Another wall. These are all paintings. She just put on sort of like his texture on there.
I don't like that one.
Anyway, I just wanted to say that, but this was pretty freaking spectacular. I just wanted you guys to see that. So.
It embarrasses me that you're using pictures of my naked body, but sometimes you have to share with the world. Yeah.
There's not a lot you can do, to tell you the truth. With Michelangelo's David, it is awesome, and I love shooting it. But what she did was totally thinking outside of the box.
Beautiful.
And she was working on that. I'm like, oh my God, Polly, you stumbled on something.
Yeah.
Anyway, anything else?
Anyone want to raise their hands at last moment to ask questions before we come to an end?
So
I'm looking to see if anybody raises their hand.
thank you for encouraging the artist in us all. And for us, it's really about thinking differently, seeing differently, exploring. So
it is.
thank you for
It's
taking
a lot
us
of fun,
on a visual.
Thanks for inviting me. That was kind of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. And your website is what's the
ASA 100. ASA 100, like film speed.
Yeah. Okay.
ASA100.com.
Yeah, and then I have stuff there. I have images and where my work sells, and then I have my workshops on there. If anybody ever wants to go to workshop, it's kind of fun.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Where's the upcoming workshops? Where are you heading next?
We're going to India next. So we go to India. We're going to go to Goa first for a week to relax on the beach. We found a new place on the beach, just chill out. And then after that, we, God, I don't even remember. We go
to Delhi and then Varanasi.
Yeah, no, we got all up, and I'm thinking workshops after that.
The other workshops.
Yeah, we're doing a new light.
New York City.
Hang on, we're going to I'm going to do it in order. We're going to a light. I can't. Oh, I'm doing a Sedona Milky Way workshop here, where we really focus on Sedona and the Milky Way and the night sky. Yeah. And then we're doing a cool new workshop of capturing lighthouses in Cape Cod and in Maine and the night sky, which is going to be really funny. I've never done that one. Then we go to Acadia National Park. We shoot over there, do a workshop. Then we go to New York City, do a workshop there. And I can't remember what else.
I got to just mention one thing. So the Seattle Art Museum a few years ago, we just happened to be there when they had an Edward Curtis retrospective. And they showed his equipment, his tripods, his big glass plates, his camping equipment, his old cameras, prints that he'd made. And it was just fascinating. But I'm thinking, oh my God, but how many mules did you need to pack all this in? And how many glass plates were lost and broken? And oh my God, how many suitcases do you typically pack?
Very little. Very little. One thing, like I'm teaching a class at UCLA called the Art of Travel Photography. And I teach people how to pack and what gear to bring, depending on where they're going, what's essential, what's not essential. So we travel. If you saw our luggage, you wouldn't believe it. It's called small. It's like 21 inches tall, by like 10 inches wide. So our main luggage is typically small luggage. It's usually soft luggage. Instead of more pockets, and you can make it go wider. And then for camera gear, you should see my camera backpack. It's small also. I take my essential 16 to 35, my 100 to 500, my 24 to 105. If I need a different lens, sometimes Holly takes it for me, and I bring my tripod, and everything I need is stuffed into there. I don't bring all of that garbage because I want to travel light. Gotcha. The last workshop we were on, when we were in Italy, and then we went on to
it was all in a small suitcase. After
Paris, and then after the White Horses, when we were in Italy, she got a neck ache because she took an extra bag that went around her neck that was way too heavy, and her camera backpack was too heavy. She got a pain in her neck that was so bad. We had to get a doctor to see her that said, you need to go get an MRI tonight. Don't go anywhere else. And gave her muscle relaxers and stuff like.
He gave me muscle. This is in Italy. He gave me muscle relaxers and Vicodin, and told me to take 2 Vicodin and 2 muscle relaxers. I'm like, I'll be dead. What do you
So she had to live on that,
at
and
the
we
same
were
time?
in the middle of travel. We couldn't go that night to get the MRI, which meant we were in the middle of nowhere after that. So she had to live in that pain, and we realized it really was from too much weight. So anybody carrying a neck strap, I don't even have a camera strap on my camera. I have a hand strap. I hold it on here. It always gets in the way. It's hard to pack. It's in shots. And it pushes on your backbone here, your neck, which is the last place you want to do. So I haven't had a neck strap on either as Holly in as many years as I can remember. So we have on a hand strap, and it makes it easier to pack. And so I just tell people, cut down on stuff that's going to bother your neck, cut down stuff that, so she's not going to do that anymore. She now is using a new pack that's smaller, and she's not going to have that much weight around there. So yeah, I pack really small, really tight, and only essential stuff. And every trip we write down, we didn't use this, let's not bring this again. So I'm constantly editing the garbage that we bring. My cousin was in Italy with us. He had the biggest suitcase I had ever seen. We went into his room and go, Tony, what are you doing? And he had wooden back scratchers this thick. He had several pair of shoes that he was never going to wear. We were laughing, say, you're not. I went and I bought new luggage for him when we were in Florence, so he would never pack like that again. And he gave away his luggage. And he's now is traveling lighter because he comes on a lot of workshops with me. We were laughing at the redundancy of garbage that he takes. Yeah. So we cut everything from camera gear to all of your clothing and everything in between. Only bring the essential stuff, or you're going to pay the price later, because we're walking up 4 flights of stairs.
Well, also, there's stores there if you need anything. And then give it away before you get on the next flight. But
yeah, not in Burma and things like that. In India, it's slim pickings some places. But yeah, I try and get people to bring the right stuff, and then I take them to buy the right stuff when we're there if they don't have the right stuff. Absolutely, I love.
Our last trip to Europe, we took a 16-pound little tiny, and we no room for wheels, so it's difficult packing even 16 pounds on your back. Even that was too much.
Well, I would have to say one of the greatest innovations.
You had to do it to get on those little.
What were you going to say?
Right. Yeah. Well, one of the greatest revelations have been and inventions has been the four wheel spinner. That is a lot cheaper. Instead of pulling your luggage with 2 wheels, to have 4 wheels so your luggage is upright and you just push the thing along. That was like similar to me as the guy that invented Velcro. I mean, that innovation. It changed everything. And then also we go really small too. So the stuff that can just fit overhead, or you just pack it in, no big deal.
And if you want those cheap flights between cities in Europe,
you need to go small.
They're going to weigh your luggage. They're going to look at the size of it. You will not get on that plane with it if you don't.
You get 15 kilograms, 30 pounds.
Yeah. Cool.
Well,
thank
Scotty,
you for the visit.
You did it again. What a pleasure. We're so fortunate that we know you as a friend, you both. And let's continue the conversations together. And we look forward to getting together with you too and spending some time as well. And so
keep up the good work.
Yeah, and impressive. I mean, your work, both of you, the work is so impressive of what you've done, and how amazing that our paths have crossed. And I look forward to learning more from you and sharing.
That was fun.
So keep thinking differently.
All right, everybody. Thank you for being here. And
thank you again. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Ciao.